Hello, I am Red Mage, and welcome to a Magic the Gathering video featuring the color red. In today's video, it's a Nightmare celebration. We have a red-black aggro deck in Wilds of Eldraine Standard, built around two powerful 3-mana legendary creatures, Braids Arisen Nightmare and Goddric, Cloaked Reveler. Braids allows you to sacrifice a permanent to force your opponent to either sacrifice a permanent of the same type or lose 2 life and you draw a card. Goddric is a 3/3 with haste that becomes a 4/4 dragon with flying and fire breathing as long as 2 or more non-land permanents entered the battlefield under your control this turn. That is the celebration mechanic. Both of these creatures want you to play cards that produce multiple permanents. So that is what we are doing. We have 16 creatures that create tokens when they enter the battlefield. Voldaren Epicure and Bloodtithe Harvester make blood tokens. Spiteful Hexmage makes a cursed roll token, which is a bad thing, but the deck is built to deal with it. More on that in a bit. Charming Scoundrel can make either a wicked roll token or a treasure. Kumano faces Kakkazan, in addition to being probably the best aggro 1-drop in Standard, enables celebration for a turn 3 Goddric when it exiles and comes back flipped. Then we round out the deck with removal in the form of Torch the Tower and Go for the Throat, as well as 1 Sheoldred and 23 lands. What makes this deck work is the intense synergy. Every card works with everything else. Now, there is a great aggro curve here. 12 proactive 1-drops allow you to start the game on turn 1 and run over slow opponents, but that wouldn't be enough on its own to put it over the top. Let's look at the downside of the Spiteful Hexmage. The Cursed Roll token, which turns whatever creature it enchants into a 1/1. That's great sacrifice fodder for Braids, and it triggers celebration for Goddric, but the rest of the deck also works to either alleviate this downside or turn it into an asset. You can sacrifice the Cursed Roll to Torch the Tower, which can also make it a good combat trick. If you already have a Voldaren Epicure or a Charming Scoundrel in play, you can put the roll on that and it's already a 1/1 anyway. You can sometimes play the Hexmage on turn 1 and the Scoundrel on turn 2, putting a wicked roll on the Hexmage, which, because of the way rolls work, causes the Cursed Roll to fall off and you're attacking with a 4/3 on turn 2. Or, if you are about to sacrifice a Bloodtithe Harvester anyway, you can put the Cursed Roll on that and have a 3/2 Hexmage. The Epicure makes the Harvester better, and Sheoldred makes the card draw from Braids and the blood tokens better. It is a tight, cohesive deck that all works together to be both explosive and value-filled. The deck list is in the description. Enjoy the gameplay, and we'll come back at the end to wrap up. Okay, this is a pretty good hand. Slightly awkward because of the mana, however. We're definitely keeping it. The question is whether we want to go Kumano into Epicure or Tapped Haunted Ridge into either Harvester or Hexmage plus something else. I guess we'll go ahead and play the Haunted Ridge first, just so we're not too bottlenecked on black mana. Okay, well, now we're not bottlenecked on black mana anymore. So we have a couple of options here. We can play all 3 1-drops. That's not unreasonable. It really sets us up for an aggressive position. Or we could play Kumano, hold up, Go for the Throat, thinking they'll probably play a 3-drop creature and get the +1/+1 counter value on Kumano. But I think we just play everything out. We might draw another creature or end up cycling with the blood token to find one, and we can really start attacking. And if they play a 3-drop, we can kill it next turn anyway. fight rigging. Okay. Well, I think they're going to be dead before that does anything. So instead of either cycling to find a creature or channeling the Sokenzan, I'm going to hold up Go for the Throat because there's a good chance they have a 6 power creature. Exactly. And we don't want them to be able to cast what's under the fight rigging for free. And now they are dead. This is really the advantage of playing such an aggressively slanted value deck as opposed to a more mid-range red-black deck. You have basically as much value between the blood tokens and the braids, and you get the explosiveness of these kinds of draws when your opponent has a slow draw that will eventually overtake the game. You can just get there before they have a chance to do literally anything that matters. This is a good hand. We have the Hexmage into Scoundrel trick. Looks like they have a cut down, so maybe it won't matter. But if they didn't have a cut down, we could put a Wicked Roll on it next turn. The Cursed Roll would fall off and it would be a 4/3. It's tempting to maybe torch the underdog, but then we're not playing the Kumano. We don't know if we're going to draw another land. Okay. Okay. Well, this is good. So, we can Scoundrel. I guess we just create a Wicked Roll attached to itself. We could make this Cursed Roll fall off, but we want to sacrifice the Cursed Roll to kill the Glissa. I don't think we need another land now. Okay, that looks good. That's kind of what we didn't want to see, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, well, this is perfect. Kill both the creatures. And it will be very difficult for them to survive. Even a Sheoldred is not enough. We've got a solid hand here. That makes it even better. What is this? Okay, Gruel nonsense. If they monstrous will roll this next turn, yikes. There's not really much we can do about that other than not play a creature and hold up Go for the Throat, in which case they might just play another creature. Yep, there we go. Wow. That's brutal. I mean, blocking doesn't do us really any good. I guess we have to not attack even though they can steal a creature, because if they just steal whichever one is not tapped, unfortunately here they're not induced to play any additional pump spells, because they already have lethal. Although it looks like they don't have anything at the moment. So I think we need to just kind of go as hard as possible and try to finish the game. Well, we're definitely going to Scoundrel and make a treasure. That's going to happen. So we could either play the Epicure, attack with both the Harvester and the Scoundrel, or leave both 1/1s behind. I think we want to save our mana a little bit, and we'll be a little cautious. If they have another one of these Furnace Rains, we would just be dead right to the Harvester. Okay, this is fine. We can just kill this thing. We don't really want to sacrifice the Harvester since it's our only reasonable threat and we're stuck on mana. So I'm going to go ahead and attack with it. In a mono-red deck, if it is mono-red, they shouldn't have any protection. So I'm just going to play the Epicure, and I'll hold up Go for the Throat. They can only activate the transform ability on the Kenra as a sorcery. So we can kill it if they go for that. We can kill it if they put a pump spell on it. For example, if they just attack here, which I expect them to do, we double block, and then they have to do something to save this and to deal any damage. So that's gonna be lethal on its own, right? +2/+0 plus the prowess. Not quite, so let's... Oh no, that is lethal. Right, because of the roll. Okay. I was gonna wait to give them an opportunity to cast another pump spell on it. And they have another one. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we do want to use our Harvester. They, with only 1 mana available, shouldn't be able to pump it enough to get it out of range. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, that works. And we get the Braids train going. We get some value here, and if they have a haste creature, we can block. Kumano, okay. Let's hope they don't have Lightning Strike. It's not impossible. Obviously, we have to mulligan this, which is quite a shame, because it's a pretty good hand. Okay. A little bit sketchy, but if we draw another black source, we can get some value. Our opponent unsure which land to play. That suggests it might be the 5-color ramp cascade nonsense. Oh. Basic island. Alright. We could hold up Go for the Throat here, but I don't think there's really any point. Mono blue doesn't play 2 drops really, and we want to get the Kumano going. That's a pretty good draw. We both get to take advantage of the Kumano trigger and make mana for Braids. Of course, dependent on them not having a counterspell. Okay. I mean, that's not so bad. I get more value. Either another treasure or some other value. That seems fine. Now, if they had tapped out here, I would play Braids. But since they didn't, I'm just going to replay the Scoundrel. And make more treasure. This way we can resolve Braids through a Make Disappear next turn. Oh my goodness. And that's, I mean, that's one of the amazing benefits of all of these small value creatures. Sure. You know, we just got a 2-for-1 there. They used a Fading Hope. If it resolved, we would have dealt 1 damage and gotten all the same value. The fact that they negated the Kumano just means that our Go for the Throats are more likely to resolve if they resolve a creature. Which they do. And so here, like, this is great for us. They have only 1 mana. They can only counter 1 of these Go for the Throats. And they give up. That's why you play 4 Go for the Throat, right? There's so many situations where you just really want it. A very good hand. Definitely wish we were on the play, but that's every game. Basic Swamp is a great draw here that guarantees we have the mana for Braids. So I think what we do here is just make a big Scoundrel and get in there. So we could go for the Throat to Thalia to be able to attack with the Kumano, but they can just make the Guardian indestructible anyway. In fact, if we attack with the Scoundrel and they double block, we're basically forced to use the Go for the Throat on the Thalia to save the Scoundrel. I don't really like that. If we had 2 red sources, I think I would Epicure plus Bloodtithe Harvester. And that would set us up for next turn. But as it is, I think I'm just going to not attack. Play the Braids, because I want to get that going, and we can sacrifice the Wicked Roll. So Brutal Cathar is fine, because we can just kill it and get the Braids back. So we could go for the Throat, the Cathar, and play an Epicure. That's fine, that would give us a blood token to sacrifice. But I think what we want to do is just play 2 Harvesters, and then we have all our removal available to us on the next turn, and we'll be able to get back the Braids from the Cathar one way or the other. This is why Braids is so good. We don't need to necessarily ever attack them again to win the game. We might, there's a good chance we will attack, but we don't necessarily have to. Braids can get there solo. We're pretty okay with this. It does put the Go for the Throat out of range, but that's fine. I mean, we've got Harvesters if we need to. We can kill the Peacekeeper with one. Yeah. This makes some sense, deciding to scry, find something that they need. The issue is that we're going to be able to attack back if we want to. Both to the top. Okay. Well, we're not going to block. We don't want to trade one of the creatures on the battlefield for a card in their hand, and our life total is fine. So we could kill both of their untapped creatures, and then we'll be able to also kill the Cathar. Get our Braids back. Sounds good to me. In this spot, I think we actually sacrifice the Epicure, because we'll be able to sacrifice the blood tokens in the future, but there's no way they can sacrifice the Guardian now. Or maybe they can, and that's fine. I can't imagine what's in their hand that makes them want to do that. Okay. Okay. Alright. I mean, whatever. That is... I don't know. I mean, I guess I get to draw a card, and that's part of why they sacrificed it. I mean, they're in a tough spot, to be fair. Like, what are they going to do? And we can sacrifice the roll here. So much value. Sure thing. I mean, assume we draw nothing but lands for the rest of the game. Like, what are they going to do? Not block the Hexmage? Well, that's pretty good. Now they have to block the Hexmage. And of course they're at 0% even if this wasn't the case, but they have to block the Hexmage, we get the Braids back, sacrifice an artifact, and they're dead. Okay, we are back to wrap up. Braids and Goddric, I think, were just made to work together. Every card in this deck helps both of them be as good as they can possibly be. The only card that isn't specifically synergistic in any way is Go for the Throat, and that card is just so important in Standard right now. Not only do you need to deal with opposing Sheoldreds, but there are Atraxes and other large creatures running rampant, and you have to be able to deal with that so that you can push through the last bits of damage, and specifically in the case of Atraxa, prevent them from gaining life when they block. What changes would I possibly make? I really want to fit both Okiba Reckoner Raid and Hopeless Nightmare into the deck. If you wanted to play those cards in the deck, you could consider cutting the Sheoldred, shaving some of the Braids and Goddric, and possibly some of the removal. If you cut Sheoldred and at least 2 of the 3 drops, you might be able to cut a land as well. So let me know in the comments if you would play either of those 2 cards and what you would cut to fit them in. I'll see you in the next one.